everyone, it's Sweeting Dragon. I have way too much pens ink right now. Without me counting, I have about 18 to 20 pens ink. And part of that was because I wanted to show some of my pens to my friend who were coming to visit, but unfortunately we didn't really get the time to try each other's pens. So I am a bit stuck with these huge numbers of pens ink. But that's okay. Sometimes it just happens that way. Let's get to it. Okay, for the first one, I have a new pen coming in. It's a Majohn P136, and this one is with the flex nib. I bought this pen together with the nib, and to my disappointment, while the pen is silver trim, the nib is in gold color in this case. So it's a mismatch, which is not pretty at all. But what can I do? I don't feel like returning it, and so I just live with it. It's not my first pen where the nib and the clip are on different colors, so I'm not that bothered anymore. This nib is so amazing. I was honestly very surprised with how good the flex nib is. And so, just to start with, I filled this pen with Papier Plume, Wigs, and Boas. I got a sample of this ink from my friend who were visiting, and this combination is also very good. I will make a writing sample for this one. So this inking is my first time trying Papier Plume ink. From this writing experience, I kinda love it. With flex nibs, usually I am very cautious with railroading, and it was quite a gamble to put this ink inside this pen. This ink is on the wetter side, I believe, because it can keep up so well with the flex nib. My other flex nib experience in my collection is the Fountain Pen Revolution Ultra Flex Nib inside this Opus 88. And while my first inking with it was okay, my second inking with this was not really going that well. I can probably write it a bit and show you, even though there are just a little bit tiny of ink left in here. You can kinda see what I mean. So with this pairing, even though it's an eyedropper pen, sometimes when I write with it, it railroads, especially with this combination. It's the ink is very Swill Press Candy Marsala. It railroads often even when there were plenty of ink on the body. While with this pen and ink combination, it's super well. It's very smooth. I think like flex wise, this Majohn flex nib is much softer compared to the FBR flex nib. And it's just so funny to think that I used to be very into flex nib. Okay, not very into. I wanted to have a flex nib in the beginning of my fountain pen journey, but I quickly stopped because of the price. And then beginning of this year, I got the opportunity to get this FBR flex nib because a friend kindly got it for me. Now I fell in love with flex nib that I'm getting another one, which is the Majohn P136 Flex or Majohn Flex. I'm having fun exploring these different flex nibs. I don't know if I will have a pilot FA nib or a more expensive flex nib, because I usually prefer a more regular grind. But it has been a fun experience to write with this Majohn P136 that I can safely say that it is a worth it kind of purchase. And if you're thinking about getting it as your first flex nib, I can recommend this one. As for the ink color comparison, the Papier Plume Wigs and Boas is super close to Herbin Rouge Opera, although I think Papier Plume is wetter, at least on the writing that I had done with it before. It's a very pleasant pink, and on some paper, the dark of Papier Plume Wigs and Boas are really dark, and then the light is light like this. So it's also a fun ink to play with, and I'm glad that I put this ink inside the P136 with the flex nib. Alright, now we are on the real currently ink. I have Diamine Twilight inside this Arclayer with Mark Bacas Data Blade nib. Okay, with this pen, it does not have the greatest seal. So if I didn't write with this pen for a while, as you can see here, it stopped writing and I had to shake it a bit. The shaking always works though, but it's not really as reliable as a pen as I wish it to be. I only have a sample of this ink, and this is my last fill of the sample. Diamine Twilight by itself is quite like a regular dark teal black, but I do think this ink may be one of the underrated ink from Diamine because it's just so pleasant. The performance is so great. It's feeling wet, and it's not a regular blue black because it's like teal-ish, dark teal. This pen has the Mark Bacas Predator blade, which means that this nib is smoother and blade like on the reverse side, while it's very thin and like a regular fine on the normal side. I used to prefer only write with the reverse side, but I grew to love this nib and I'm right now okay with it. And I found that on the reverse side, on some of the inks, and also with this Diamond Twilight, the reverse side has a lighter shade ink compared to the regular side when it's on the darker side. So it's also nice for me to get some variation when I write with it, and also like when I want some emphasis on what I'm writing, then I can just use the reverse side and it's thicker compared to the regular side. If only the capsule is good, then I think I will rate this pen higher in my collection. And it's fun because I can see the amount of ink that I have from the DNA-like body in here. I think I'm running low already. I cannot really see it clearly currently with this lighting, but it's about this much left. Now I can see that this ink feathers a bit on the Yusari paper, the paper that I use for this currently ink. As for color comparison, Diamine Twilight is the closest with Roaring Cleaner Verdigris, also a nice ink, while Diamine Twilight is slightly greener compared to Verdigris, but if you have one, you don't need the other. Okay, the next one is Shanghai Stationery Queenmother of the West, and I feel it inside my Asvine V126. This ink is quite unique of its own. I thought it's a gray ink, but when writing it can look gray, it can look also brown. So maybe a more accurate description is that this is a warmer tone gray, and it really depends on what paper you are using it on. I can see here on the Yusari paper, unfortunately, the ink feathers. Aside from the performance, I do think that this ink is quite the unique one because I don't really have anything similar in my collection. This combination, the pen and the ink, is lovely. Although, well, previously I love this pen, right now I'm thinking maybe I need to play around with the nib a bit because I think it has a slight baby's bottoms on the nib, and thus if I'm writing on lower angle then the ink just flows flawlessly, but if I write it more on the higher angle, which I usually do, then sometimes it does not start immediately. But that's okay, it's just that I'm not using this pen as often as I thought, because I initially bought this pen because I wanted to use it for my work pen, but that's also fine. Color comparison wise, Shanghai Stationery Queenmother of the West is super close to Lennon Tulbar Heichuan, although Queenmother of the West is more grayish compared to that one. And while Pilot Iroshi Sukukirisame is like a warm gray, it is still cooler compared to Queenmother of the West. This combination may be one of my favorite out of the bunch that I'm showing you here today, with exception of the flex nib because that one was great. So I have Teranishi Gentle Green inside this Jinhao 80 with Lamy Kanji nib. By Lamy Kanji nib, it's similar to Architect-ish, although it is only different in writing experience, but on the line width it is quite the same as the regular nib. And I heard now that the sale price for this nib is super high right now because it's not produced anymore, but I will say that the writing experience is not worth if it is like 1000, oh no, 100 euro. So Lamy Kanji nib is a pleasant writing nib, but it's not something that you would really want to pay a huge amount of. This Teranishi Gentle Green is so unique. So this ink is bluish when it's wet and it's greenish when it's dry, although the color itself is also very dependent on the paper that you use. On the Tomoe River paper, there are sometimes like reddish sheen, although I see that it's not really prominent on these Wigs from last year. But when I was writing my letter with this ink on the Tomoe River paper, and it's just a beautiful greenish with reddish sheen, and it's just so fun to see this ink drying. I love seeing how it's bluish. I hope the camera can pick it up. Bluish when it's wet and greenish when it's dry. And when I write one line with it and then I see the next line with it, then it's like, yeah, this ink is changing color and I love it. As for the color comparison, Teranishi Gentle Green is the closest to Dacia Okiue Hokusai Sabi Midori. So if you have one, you don't need the other. I still need to buy a bottle of Sabi Midori because I love it way so much. But yeah, now when looking at this ink side by side, I also want a bottle of Teranishi Gentle Green. I want lots of other bottles. Next up, I have Robert Oster Aussie Gold inside my Kaweco Perkeo with medium nib. Whenever I look at my own Perkeo, I always think that I really want to get the newest Kaweco Perkeo Iridescent Pearl, but at the same time, I don't really need it now, so it can wait until I visit the pen store or something. But whenever I write with this Kaweco Perkeo, I always think that I really love the nib in this pen compared to the nib in my Kaweco Sport, because somehow the Kaweco Perkeo nib is more bouncy compared to the sports one, and they're just so reliable. And this ink, Robert Oster Aussie Gold, may be one of a good candidate for yellow ink because I don't really have yellow ink in my collection, question mark. And it's so hard to find a good yellow just because most of the time it is illegible or way too light. But this one have a great combination of the lightness and the darkness. It's like a good medium ground, which makes it legible. And it's also doing pretty well. So on this Yusari paper, the Robert Oster Aussie Gold is not feathering at all. And it is also like I'm putting some other swatch cards here. It's darker compared to Diamine Pineapple Spritz. And it's just a legible yellow. So if you are searching for a yellow, I can recommend trying Robert Oster Aussie Gold and let me know what you think about it. This one is the last that I have for this video. So I have Herbin Vert Cactus inside this Asvine J16 with Yowo medium nib. I'm finding out that I apparently put this pen outside. It's not getting the sunlight directly, but I do think that the sunlight from the window kind of making this body paler. I don't know if you can see it, but the grip section here is darker and browner compared to the paler body here, which is a pity because there's a difference of colors now, but at the same time I don't really care about it anymore, and if it's different between the grip and the body, then that's fine, as long as I can use the pen and the pen is comfortable and nice, and so I'm okay with that. I think I have removed my perfectionist self long time ago when it comes to pen. Wait, this is not the ink that I'm using it for. Whoops. Okay, wrong pen. So I put in the Herbin for Cactus inside the TWSBI 580 with medium nib. So it's not the J16, but it's this pen. Maybe I'm mistaking it because both of them are piston pen, and so they feel the same for me, but they are different pen. And I cannot believe I made this mistake. Oh well, sometimes that happens, especially when I'm inking so many pen and thus I keep forgetting things. But now you have to bear with me while I'm laughing at myself while writing with this pen. But putting the ink of the J16 and this Herbin Vert Cactus side by side, they are a nice combination. One is on the brownish grayish and one is green. You may want to guess, what do you think this ink is? I'm curious what you think of it. So yeah, this Herbin for Cactus is so wonderful inside this TWSBI Diamine 580. This pen is still comfortable for me, although now that we are taking out the J16, I do feel that this Asvine J16 is much more comfortable compared to this B580. Maybe because this one have a slightly thicker grip section, while the TWSBI Diamine 580 is more on the narrower side, and this plastic is slightly slipperier compared to the other pen. But that's still fine, and this nib is so wonderful as well. So whenever I write with this pen, I'm always having fun. Although, as you might have noticed, I'm changing my inks pretty often, so I think with this filling, I fill it more than half, and there are just a tiny bit left, so I hope that I can write dry this pen soon. As for the color comparison, Herbin Vert Cactus is a green that is leaning more on the yellowish side. And so while I have some similar colors here, it's the closest to Ronklingner Emma, although Emma is slightly paler and Vert Cactus is much more saturated in color. So yeah, these are all the 6 pens that I have for you today. What do you think of these pens and inks combination? Any of these that you want to try yourself or you already have yourself in your collection? Let me know and see you on the next one. Bye bye!